Have you ever walked into a client's home where every space is full? The closets, the drawers, the shelves, and the client looks at you and says, I want to keep everything. Or they say, I've already decluttered and everything that's left here is stuff that I want to keep. If you're a professional organizer, this situation probably feels very familiar. So in today's episode, we're talking about what to do when there's simply too much stuff in a space and your client is struggling to let go. I'm going to walk you through practical organizing strategies paired with coaching style questions that help our clients feel supported, not pressured, while still making real progress. You'll learn how to guide decisions, set clear expectations, design systems that actually work, and create boundaries that prevent clutter from coming right back. This episode is going to help you feel more confident, more professional, and more prepared the next time you're standing in a room wondering, okay, where do I start? I'm Samantha Brown, professional organizer, decluttering specialist, and business coach. I created Pro Organizers Coach to empower you to reach new heights in your business. I'm on a mission to build a supportive sisterhood of passionate professional organizers. So whether you're a seasoned pro or you're just getting started, this podcast is for you. All right, tip number 1. Start with the client's real goal, not the stuff. And if you've listened to me for any length of time, you know I constantly talk about setting those expectations from the get-go. On your socials, on your website, on the phone call, during the consultation, definitely all of the things. Make sure those expectations are set of finding out the real why behind your client hiring a professional organizer. They hit a pain point, which is what made them reach out for help. So finding out what that pain point is and what their goal is, like the why, all of those are things that you need to know moving forward so you can help them in the very best way possible. Clients often think they want more storage, quote unquote, but what they really want is less stress, easier morning routines, a calmer home when they come home. If you don't clarify the real goal, you'll organize in circles. The goal becomes the filter for every decision that follows, and the why is a great thing to bring back up to remind them throughout the different sessions. Remember, this was your why, and this is the goal we're trying to reach. So maybe we can let go of a few more items, or does this support the goal that we're after? And so some coaching questions would be, what made you want help with this space now? Another one is, how do you want this room to support your life day to day? And the third one is, if this space was working perfectly, what would be different? And that just gets them thinking, so then you can get some more information from them. All right, tip number 2, normalize why letting go feels so hard. Difficulty letting go is not stubbornness, it's emotional attachment. Items often represent memories, identity, past seasons, money or effort spent getting that item. So when your clients feel understood, they become more open. So some questions could be, what does this item represent for you? What feels hardest about letting this go? And what would it mean if you didn't keep this? Some other tips that I use are, could we take a photo of it? Because that will still bring up the emotions and remind you what you had or, have. And you can still see the photo in your phone. Is that an option? The other thing is sometimes even asking them, especially if they create a maybe pile and there's some stuff in there that they're really not sure of. There's 2 things about maybe piles. One is I always offer to come back around like, hey, let's start this maybe pile. We'll come back to it at the end, because by the time you come back to it at the end, they've already built up that decluttering muscle, and then it's a lot easier for them to say yes or no to that maybe pile, and because they've been learning how to make decisions for hours with you at that point. And the second thing about maybe piles is if they're really like, I have to keep this or I want to keep this, okay, great. Can we put it in a container and maybe put it in a different room? And anything that you need from that container over the next even year, you could pull out of the container and then keep it in the room where it needs to be. But at a year's mark, anything left in that container can then be released, or even a 6-month mark. The point is to help them understand, hey, if you're struggling that bad today, it's okay. But is there maybe a space? Like I had a client recently that she just kept holding on to all these things, and her son, it was the only son she's ever going to have. And so she had tubs and tubs and tubs of his stuff. We went through them. She got rid of a lot, but there was still a ton of stuff that she wanted to hold on to for now. And so I told her, I said, hey, let's put it down here. And then if you need it, because a lot of the stuff, she's like, well, I may still need that. I'm not sure. And then exactly what I said a second ago. Okay, great. We went and got some totes that match, so they look nice. Kind of I think they're like $10-12 a piece from Target. They have a lid. We stacked them. They're clear. We put a label on them. And then she's able to go down there. She knows where they are if she needs those items. This also works great with kitchens, by the way, and kitchen, things for the kitchen. But the point is sometimes once they can live for, even a few weeks to a month with that stuff out of the space, and they get to feel how much more open it feels, all of a sudden they're like, wait, I don't really need that other stuff, or I don't want it coming back up here and cluttering up the space. So it's helping them and coming up with creative ways that you can get them to experience what it's like to have an organized home that feels better. Then it makes it so much easier to release those maybe items. Tip number 3, we need to teach that every single space is like a container, in the fact that it's only so big. And so once you put too many items in that container, it's going to start feeling overwhelming and stressful. Where the least amount of items you can have in the space, the better it feels, the more open, it feels more breathable in that space. And so helping them understand that every single space has a capacity. A closet, a drawer, a cabinet, a home in general. You can only put so many things in there before it starts to feel overwhelming. Helping them understand that overfilled spaces stop functioning no matter how organized they look. And then this removes the shame and the blame from the client, and it keeps them from getting upset with us because it's just a fact. There's only so much space, and there's only so many items that can fit in that space. So some coaching questions would be, if this space could only hold what fits comfortably, what would make the cut? Which is a really good one. Like, hey, if in this space, the things that like you have to have in this space, or, the things that would fit in here comfortably, what are their go-tos? Because that's going to help them see real quick the other things that aren't their go-tos. And then another question is, how do you want this space to feel when you open it? When you open the door, when you open the drawer, whatever area it is you're working on them with. When you open this, how do you want it to feel? The more you can get them into their emotions and understanding that their physical space has everything to do with the way they feel on a daily basis, the more they are going to be willing to let go. I promise you. All right, tip number 4, help clients choose what deserves prime real estate space. So not everything can live in the most accessible space. Prime real estate should be reserved for current seasons, frequently used items, and things that support your daily life. The stuff that you are using the most often and your go-tos over and over again on a daily or at least a couple times a week basis, that's the stuff that needs the prime real estate. This helps clients prioritize without forcing them to purge just yet. It helps them see like, oh, okay, so I need to put these sections or these topics in these sections, but now look at all the other stuff that's left. Okay, now what deserves the next section that makes the most sense, that is easy to access, and then so on and so forth until you purge down to what's left, which is normally the stuff that's not that important to them. Some coaching questions would be, what do you reach for most often? What do you want to be the easiest to grab and just come in here and get? And then if everything couldn't stay, what has to stay? And again, kind of like with the vet, that's where she was like, oh, I need my, scrubs and everything I wear to the office because I wear this every day. Great. If you have a client that works out, okay, you need your workout stuff front and center if you go every morning to run or to the gym. Things like that are very critical because it's a part of their daily life, and we want to make their life easier with less steps to get to the stuff that they need and for them to know where the stuff is. Tip number 5, separate current life items from past or future items. So many homes are filled with items from past roles, old hobbies, aspirational versions of themselves. Like one day I'm going to build that quilt, or, one day I may have another child and it's going to be a girl, or maybe it's, one day I'm going to start a business, but I haven't started it yet, but it's going to be making candles and I've got all this candle making stuff. Okay. Well, how long has it been there? 10 years and I haven't touched it. And understanding that these items don't need to disappear. They just don't need daily access. They don't need to be in the prime real estate section. So if there's other places to put those things, if they feel like they need to keep them, ideally they won't. And they'll be like, you know what? You're right. I haven't used it in 10 years. It can go. But doesn't always happen, of course. And then this honors the client's story while supporting their present life. Like, hey, I see you. I hear you. I just want to make sure that the way that you are living day to day now, that these systems we create support you in that, and that the other stuff, we can then figure out where that needs to go or where that makes the most sense if we hold on to it at all. So some coaching questions could be, like if you're holding something up, is this part of your life right now or a different season of life? Does this support who you are today? Would you want this taking up space in your everyday routine? Is this something you need to see every single day as you're getting into your closet? Especially when it's clothes, like that they've lost weight, they gain weight, because I've come across quite a few clients like that. That's the perfect time for totes and the system I was talking about a minute ago, kind of with the maybe stuff. But it also is a great way if they're like, oh, well, sometimes I'm a size 2 and then sometimes I'm a size 8. But right now I'm a size 6. Okay, great. Let's get all the 2s into a bin. Let's get all the 8s in a bin, but let's get them out of this closet and then put them somewhere that you know where they are. So if you lose the weight, you can bring them back out. But if not, they're not right here front and center in your closet, in your face every single day. Tip number 6, address the I might need it mindset gently. So, just in case items are often rooted in fear, not reality. Keeping everything just in case creates daily stress, and we know this because it adds to the clutter. So you want to help clients weigh the likelihood of use, like how often, when's the last time they used it, all of those things. The cost of replacement, like, okay, well, if you've not used it in 2 years, but you might need it. Like you have this fear of letting go that you might need that thing again. Okay, great. What would it cost to replace it? If it's, $20 to replace it, okay, well then can you just replace it if you end up needing it, kind of thing. And then just helping them understand the cost of keeping it. It's going to take up your space. It's going to give you more stress and more clutter, which is going to get you right back here where you are. And so if it's important enough for you to keep that you're willing to give up those things, then let's keep it and work with what we have. But helping them understand some of these mindset shifts and just the way that their mindset is thinking about it. Sometimes it just takes one simple question and then being quiet and giving them a minute to think through it and then answer. They end up talking it out with themselves or like with us. But a lot of my clients, they end up actually just talking it through. And then they're like, you know what? You're right. It can go. Okay. So tip number 7, design systems that match how the client naturally organizes. So systems fail when they fight the client's natural tendencies. Some clients need visual systems with open storage because for them it's out of sight, out of mind. And then others need hidden storage with simple contained systems with labels on them. The goal is maintainable, not Pinterest perfect, right? Unless they tell you they want it to be Pinterest perfect. So the goal is to create those systems, though, that are going to work for them. And so that's why a lot of times helping them understand, hey, when we work together, or if you can just be around so I can ask you a question sometimes, then I'm able to create this system that's going to work for you. Like, for instance, the things that I use underneath sinks in the bathroom mainly is this little thing at the bottom that has 2 drawers. And then on top of it, I put a Lazy Susan. And I do that so it gives them some drawer storage under the sink. But the Lazy Susan on top is something that easily spins. And then I talk to them about what is it that you're grabbing every single morning? Like, what are your go-to products? That's what we put in the Lazy Susan on top, because then they just spin it, grab out what they need, use it, and set it right back in that Lazy Susan behind the door under the sink. So it's about helping them and asking those questions that help you understand how they use their products, which ones they use, how often, so you can help create that system for them that works for them. Some questions that you can ask are, do you prefer to see your items or tuck them away? What usually causes this space to fall apart? And then also, what kind of system would feel easiest to keep up with? And for that question, you need to say micro or macro. Like, do you need something that's just throw and go and very like broad topics where it goes in there, it gets thrown in there and you keep going through your day? Or do you prefer things to be very micro organized, so then every single thing has like that one small place, its exact home that it goes back to? So depending on who they are, how they are, their lifestyle, those answers are going to be very different. So knowing that particular answer is huge in what we do, and should definitely be something that you talk to them about in the consultation, no matter what you're doing. Okay, couple more tips. Tip number 8, use other spaces and seasonal rotation intentionally. So not everything has to live in one closet or one room. Seasonal rotation is a smart strategy, not avoidance. And then this creates breathing room without forcing big emotional decisions. These things help for said clients that really do want to keep everything. You try to help them declutter, you talk them through it, or they say, listen, I'm busy, I've got to work today, and you're going to have to do this session without me, and I've already decluttered, I want to keep everything. There's not much that you can say like, oh, well, I don't need you to work today, I need you here talking to me. Now, I do set up those expectations in the phone call and the consultation, but sometimes they just don't have the time, which is why their house got the way it did in the first place. So in those situations, that's whenever I would be like, okay, is there another closet that we could put, like coats and jackets and Christmas stuff in maybe? Or is there another closet that makes more sense to house like your really fancy dresses, or any little topic that isn't the everyday stuff that someone's going to be using? That's an option of something that can go into a different closet or that can get put up into bins with the seasonal rotation. So you could still leave some of the shirts and some of the things, but again, the really heavy stuff, the really, like tank tops and the very small, teeny tiny stuff for summer. But the biggest question with that, though, is you have to ask them, are you going to be able to maintain this? Because I've had a handful of clients that they're like, yes. And every single 4 to 6 months, they change out their wardrobe and they love doing it. Now, me on the other hand, and a lot of my other clients, they're like, no, I would never pull it back out. Like, that just seems like extra work that I don't want to have to deal with. So asking them those questions are going to help you determine, can they even do the seasonal thing? Or does that mean, hey, we really need to declutter some more, or we need to get more creative with our storage solutions? And if there's an extra closet or two, like in a spare bedroom, maybe. So, you've got to ask questions like, what items do you only need for part of the year? Where could these live when they're not in season? And what would feel lighter if this wasn't here year round? As in, hey, if this stuff isn't right front and center year round, like how much better would this feel if we can either find another place to put this stuff, let it go, or at least put it in bins and then you rotate it out? right? But you've got to ask these hard questions with clients to help them get there too, because we're trying to help them change their mindsets and be realistic with themselves, but with all the love and support, because that's what we're there for. 2 more tips. Tip number 9, prepare clients for decision fatigue. This one is huge. So we all know that decluttering requires emotional, mental, and physical energy. Our clients may get tired. They may shut down. They may become more agitated as the fatigue sets in. So sometimes with those clients, slowing down often leads to better decisions, like just taking your time. I know for a lot of us, we get in that place of like, the more I get done in this session today and in our time together today, the happier the client's going to be. And that's not necessarily the case. I've had clients that like, I leave their home and I'm like, man, we could have gotten so much more done. And they're like, oh my gosh, we got so much more done than I ever thought we could today. I feel so much better. And they're thrilled with what we got done. And for me, I'm like, girl, we could have done double that. But sometimes they need to be heard emotionally. They need to talk it through calmly and, taking it a little bit slower. So just gauging those clients and like being aware of people's body languages is huge. And trust your gut on the way that you think they might be feeling. And if you see like a change in their demeanor, well, then ask them a question. You could say things like, how are you feeling mentally right now? Would it help for us to pause and take a break for a moment? You can also ask, if it's a client that like you start to realize they have a lot of decision fatigue, like what feels manageable to work on today? Like what's something that's maybe not so overwhelming if you're stressed out today? The other option is you could say, hey, how about you go take a break for a moment? Or let's work together, and you can use a timer, like 20-minute increments. So I'm going to set the timer for 20 minutes. We are going to work on it. And then I'm going to let you go, and I'm going to keep sorting and going through some stuff and getting things ready for you to then come back. And so we'll do 20 minutes together, and then you can have 30 minutes off, and then 20 minutes together, and then 30 minutes off, or however you want to break those numbers down. That's not the point. The point is setting the expectation and helping them understand, if you realize that they seem very overwhelmed, that like, hey, decision fatigue's a real thing. It is not just you. And I want you to enjoy this. And so what is it that we can do to help you not have decision fatigue and to help this be a cohesive process that makes you happy with what we're getting done and happy with the decisions that you're making? Just ask them and be open, and they will tell you. And if they don't know, then that's when you say something like, well, with other clients, I've used the timer method. You can just say it like that. And then all of a sudden they're like, oh, okay, you've done this with other clients. I'm not the only one. Like, just make sure they don't feel like they are the only one that gets decision fatigue. Help them understand it's a very normal part of the process. And then our last tip, last but not least, set clear maintenance and incoming boundaries. So help them understand that organizing only works if there's a plan for what comes next, and that without boundaries, clutter will return. You also need to help them understand maintenance doesn't need to be complicated. It just needs to be clear. You just have to have a system and something similar to like 1 in, 1 out rule, or even 1 in, 2 out. Like if you're going to get a pair of shoes, 2 of them that you already have to go. So is it worth getting that pair of shoes? Little things like that, or even, a touch point where like, hey, once a month or once bi-monthly moving forward, I'm going to come back and we're just going to go through the home and touch up things. Offering them maintenance, but also helping them understand that maintenance is a normal part of what we do, because life continues. Things keep moving. We buy more things. We, have holidays, like all life is happening. So of course, over time, certain things are going to get chaotic again. But the great thing about it being organized already is we can easily tidy it back up and it'd be right back to the way it is when we were done organizing today. So saying something like that to them to help them understand. You can even ask a couple coaching questions, as you could say, what's your plan when something new comes into your home? What happens when this space starts to feel full again? And tell them, I just want you to have a plan. And even if that plan is calling me and having me come back and help you, I just need you to understand that maintenance is a part of what we do. And then how will you know when it's time to reassess? Just asking some of these questions. When you are coaching a client, you don't have to have the answers. You have to have the powerful question and then be quiet and give them a moment to process and then give you the answer. Then based on their answer, then if you need to ask another clarifying question, like, well, can you tell me more about that? Then do that. If you got your answer and you're like, you know what, great. Okay, well, I have this other question. Ask those questions and make sure that you set the tone for like, hey, I'm not just running straight into your house. We're just going to start go, 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 go. Like when I first get here, we need to sit down and just go over today's plan, make sure we're still on the same page for, hey, this is how this is going to work. But also let me ask you a few questions like, hey, can we sit down and talk for just a minute before we dive in? Something as simple as that, and then taking like 10 minutes tops of their time to talk these things out is going to set you up for so much success, because then they feel seen and heard and you're both on the same page. You're working for the same team now. Instead of, a lot of our clients are very nervous, especially that first session, and they almost feel like we're going to judge them or we're against them. So doing that little like 10 minutes together at the beginning to sit and chat for just a minute truly does builds the bond between you and your client, and it helps build that trust as well, because then they know that you are truly there to help them create systems that work long term for them and their families. So those are my 10 tips. I know we all deal with these types of clients. If you are curious at all about how to work with clients, I do have my How to Work with Clients as a Professional Organizer course, and I have so many other goodies and things for you at proorganizerzacademy.com. Make sure to go there. Any one of the things that you see or the courses that you see as an option, if you click on the button that says pay, and then the amount, once you click on that, it's going to take you to another page that shows you inside of the actual course before you actually hit the pay button. So make sure to do that. Make sure to click those links. Go check them out. Come join us inside of the group coaching community, which most of my courses bring you into the community for free for 3 months anyways. So you're getting so much added value. And again, if you have any questions, you can always reach out to me at proorganizercoach@gmail.com or go to proorganizercoach.com. And all of the links will be in the show notes. Thank you, thank you, thank you. If you have not gone and given us a 5-star review here, please do that. It really helps the podcast grow. I try not to ask and bother you too much because I know a ton of people are asking you all the time, but it really does help me grow. And so if you get a chance to give me a 5-star review on whatever platform you're listening on with some kind words of how it's helped you, I would really appreciate you. I thank you so much. I hope you're having a blessed day, and I will see you in the next episode. Thank you for joining us on this episode of the Pro Organizers Coach podcast. Go to proorganizercoach.com to find all the ways that we can help you succeed in your business. Remember, you have the power to make a difference in people's lives through decluttering and organization. So keep honing your skills, embracing those challenges, and fostering connections. Girl, you've got this.